and welcome to the big show. This is Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks, the dive bars of Seattle. We are the podcast that sets out to examine dive bars and historic drinking establishments with a seedy backstory behind it. But we're not just recording in the confines of some home studio, nay.
Hey! No.
And we say nay because we are live on location.
Yes.
Tonight we are in West Seattle, which is our first West Seattle visit, and we are at Poggie Tavern.
And Bob, tell us all very specifically where are we at?
The Junction, baby.
We are at the Junction.
Conjunction function.
That's right. It's the heart of West Seattle. It's where Alaska meets California, and it's named after, it used to be a streetcar junction. Two lines met here, and the name stuck. Streetcar junction.
The more you know.
The more you know. Ba-ding.
Well, joining us as always is our producer extraordinaire,
Hey,
Bob
now.
Trombley.
Hey, now.
And of course, Lou Dog to my right.
Back in business?
And Jeremy, what's your nickname today? You're always changing.
MC Tots.
MC Tots? Okay,
Yeah, and
all right.
there's a whole backstory with that. We're going to get into it later. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, MC Tots.
Like, tell them about the tots now.
No, don't jump ahead.
Well, we've been on a slight hiatus. There's just been a lot going on, vacations and the hustle and bustle of the holidays and all kinds of stuff. So this is our first recording in like about a month, I would say? Yeah, since the
Listeners would be like,
Since the
well, wait
deluxe.
a second. I just listened to an episode yesterday. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
It's a time warp thing.
Wom. But yeah, it's been about a month since we've been together. Good to see your ugly mugs.
All right. Merry Christmas to all and happy holidays. This is going to be one of our Christmas episodes.
Christmas
That's right,
episode,
Christmas
yeah.
episode.
Last episode was Thanksgiving. This is Christmas.
Well, as we said, we're at Poggie Tavern in West Seattle. You know, this one has a pretty interesting story, just like they all do. So the Poggie Tavern has reportedly been a bar in this location since at least 1934. In 1936, it became
year,
known
34.
as the Poggie Inn, followed by it becoming known as the Poggie Tavern sometime in the 40s.
Who's Poggie?
Well, that's a good question, Lou. So as far as where the name came from, there's a local fishing club called the Poggie Club, and I'm pretty sure that's where it got its name. Like, I don't know if the Poggie Club was meeting here back in the day, or if they just decided to have kind of like a fishing theme, because you see it throughout the bar, right? Like, even their mascot is a fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so it came from a fishing term, either the club or the term itself.
So we don't know what a Poggie is?
What is a Poggie? Do you know?
It's actually a type of fish.
Is it a type of fish?
I believe it's a type of fish, actually.
Okay. Saltwater, right? You catch out?
Clearly a bunch of hardcore fishermen amongst this group. Yeah.
Yep.
Salmon? What does that mean?
Buddy, you're talking to a 12-year fishmonger, so you better come with some respect.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you are the one who said the Poggie was a fish.
Senior Tots.
So anyway, like all other longtime taverns, the Poggie's past does include a couple good crime stories.
All right.
Stick up.
So Dateline,
Stolen fish.
1956. It was a late winter's night when a bartender was outside the Poggie throwing rock salt on the sidewalk when a guy came up behind him, put a gun to his back, and marched him inside, where the robber then took cash from the register before fleeing out the door. Now, that's kind of like your garden variety stick-up, right?
Straight up.
Straight up. They take money from the cash register, they flee, never to be seen again.
Was that the deluxe or the Baronoff with the snubby to the back?
No,
That was the deluxe kind of.
No, the deluxe
That's where the guy used the bar's hand truck to load up the safe.
Yeah, this
Well,
is
this guy
much
just-
less sophisticated.
Yeah, this is
And
much
this
less-
guy is
this-
just like
This is your
smash and
garden variety.
grab.
Now, the story itself, like I said, it's pretty standard. But it was what the robber said that made this particular robbery stand out, because when the robber stuck the gun to his back, this is what he said to him, and I quote, "Just be a good boy and everything will be all right." Like, how creepy is that? Just be a good boy and everything will be all right?
Is that creepy or condescending or a little bit
I
of
don't
both?
know. I guess it depends how he said it, right? Yeah, exactly.
I don't like either way. No.
Either way.
Yeah.
But if you were walking down the street,
Yeah,
and some
I mean,
guy
like-
came up, would you rather hear, give me your wallet, or would you rather hear, be a good boy and everything will be all right? Personally, I'd rather hear, give me your wallet.
Well, it's a different time, different era. Good boy, right?
Right. And again, it's how he said it. Was he like,
Be a fine fellow.
Yeah, was he like, be a good boy and everything will be all right? Or was he like, oh, be a good boy and everything will be all right? It's like how it was said,
It's all in
probably.
the delivery.
It's all in the delivery. But anyway, whatever, though, this guy ended up getting the money from the cash register and taking off. And somewhere around 1969/1970, it appears that the original Poggie Tavern was demolished and was replaced with the current building that we're sitting in now. I'm not really sure why it was demoed. I don't know if there was a fire, if it was just an old building, they decided to have something newer. But anyway, it was demoed and the new Poggie emerged. 2 years later, in 1972, police arrested a bookie at the Poggie after he sold sport betting cards to an undercover cop. So I was like a good bookie story, right?
Our kind of guy.
Our kind of guy, yeah. We're sitting in front of a big stack of pull tabs, so we're starting to become a bunch of degenerates, so props to the
That's
bookies.
right. How have we done so far? Let's do a recap. We did 12,
12
and we
pull
won
tabs,
2.
$2, so what is that?
18% return on your investment.
That's right.
There's no way to lose.
Exactly.
It's like free money.
Yeah. You can't lose. Currently, the Poggie is owned by the Stedmans, who own several other local bars, including
They own
Targis.
the water wheel, right? Or not the...
Targis.
Targis.
Targis
Yes.
and a number of others. So, yeah, they kind of have a little monopoly going of sorts. But they seem to do a good job. They seem to be good stewards of their bars. Like all the bars we visited that have been owned by the Stedmans, which is a husband and wife team, they all seem to be really cool bars. So they're doing something right.
Everyone that works here has worked here forever.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a good sign.
Same as Targis.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly. That is a good sign.
This is a lot for the ownership, right?
Yeah.
Keeping people around.
I would say so. So
Yeah.
props to the Stedmans. Pogies is known as Little Reno for all the 45 different pull tabs they have at the front. And they even have like
Reno. It's
Little
not
Reno.
Vegas.
No, Little
Little
Reno.
Reno.
Yeah. Apparently that's its nickname.
Is there a rundown amusement park behind the casino?
I don't know. We'll have to take a peek. Now, looking around this place, which is pretty cool, they have items and artifacts from other West Seattle bars that have closed over the years. So when they close, they kind of take some artifacts and they end up kind of, this is the resting place for some of the previous West Seattle bars that didn't make it. This includes a anchor from the original, was it the Tug's Tavern, Bob? You were telling me about that. The Tug Tavern, which is pretty much right next door. Now, this is pretty cool. So right when you walk in, there's a little glass display case. It's lit up. Bob, I was showing this to you when we first walked in. And there's a flask sitting there in this glass display case. So one of the regulars, his name was Klaus.
Always snuck in his own booze.
Well, he passed away, I don't know how long, sometime in the last 10 years. And his wish was to be put in a flask and have this be his resting place. They honored his wishes, and so his remains in the flask are on display right next to the bar.
Wow.
Which I think is pretty cool. I mean, it's one thing to have a stool named after you pass away at your favorite watering hole.
Well,
But to
exactly.
actually have your remains.
Your eternal stool.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
I wish you would have told me that before I poured my drink in there.
Tried warning you, Jeremy. Tried warning you. How did he taste, by the way?
A little salty.
A little salty. Well, I guess the joke is...
Passion.
So Trish, the bartender, was telling me, I guess the running joke is when people learn about that, they always ask, like, are all his remains in that flask? And I guess the punchline is, no, just his drinking arm. But that is a pretty good return. Yeah. So anyway, this has just been kind of like a really cool neighborhood bar that's been here since the 30s. You know, a couple cool crime stories. And with that, what do you guys think about the story of the Poggie?
That's great. And I was going to say, West Seattle now is almost like a la Ballard. Big nightlife. You walk up and down California, a bar. Pretty much almost every establishment you can go and get a drink.
Definitely.
But,
Some new breweries.
before 2000, Poggie's was one of the few establishments that you could get a drink. Poggie, across the way, which is now Tallarico's, used to be the New Look Toy, which Mark Fuller, former owner of Mao Ono, has reopened down in California. But it was New Look Toy. If you wanted to get a drink, it was here, a little Chinese restaurant, or you had the Corner Pocket, or you had the Maharaja. So there was really only about almost 4 establishments in West Seattle, not to mention the Porta Vallarta if you wanted to have some fun next
Which
door.
is still there.
Still there.
Is that a strip club?
No, it's a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, but so it was one of the few places
How
that you
did you
could get
arrive
a
to
drink.
Puerto Vallarta being a strip club, Blue?
Oh, the best strip clubs were in Puerto Vallarta. You didn't know that?
No.
But now it's funny in West Seattle nowadays. It's like you come by Pogie's. It's almost not no man's land, but it's like kind of quiet, seldom, and not really. It's not a hipster bar. Thank God.
That's a good point.
Otherwise, we would not be here. Yeah.
That's correct.
There's a couple of things you mentioned, Brad, that are like some common themes that we've experienced in in seasons 1 and 2, and a lot of the bars that we visited. 1934, very common year for a lot of a lot of
the classic
startings for
dives,
some of the classic dives we've been to around that 32, 34 kind of time frame. So it's kind of cool
Right
to see
when
Poggie
Prohibition
started.
was repealed.
Yep, Poggie started right around there too. Second, nautical theme.
that
Very
a lot?
common. Like I lost count of all the bars that had like kind of the nautical theme with fish and
sloop.
ropes and anchors and stuff
Yep.
all over the damn place, right?
Yeah.
Baranoff.
The Baranoff, yep.
Yep, for sure. And the other kind of thing that's cool
cabin.
that we've seen in a lot of places too is memorabilia from dive bars that have passed, that are no longer with us. And it's pretty cool to go to a bar that's pretty awesome to hang out with in its own right, but also to look around and see remnants of bars that are no longer with us. Some that we remember, some that we don't. It's
Yep.
pretty cool to see that. Love it.
Here, here.
Yeah, this is a good place to be. We're across the street from one of the best remaining record stores in town, Easy Street
Yep.
Records.
Yep.
Shout out to Easy Street,
Definitely.
and it's like Easy Street Records and Cafe now. So you go in there, they get some breakfast. You can get your Reverend Horton Heat hash.
Good call, yeah.
Yeah, it's delicious too. Yeah, it's cool. There's not a lot of surviving. Remember when there was a record store on 3 on every block in all the hip neighborhoods?
I miss those days.
Yep.
Yeah, record stores and bookstores.
Yeah. Sadly so.
Yeah, so this is a good place to be. Jeremy, you want to tell us about what you decided to put in your belly tonight? What you drinking, man?
Yeah, well, we can talk about what you're drinking real quick. Riffing on what you're talking about. I was at the airport a few days ago. Sub Pop had a store there, which was fucking closed, which sucked. But another example of something that used to be a staple Seattle, kind of stalwart, and now very much gone, except for some remnants like the Sub Pop at the airport.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So what you're drinking? A couple things that are pretty cool about Poggie that is both consistent with what we've seen in dive bars, both in this area and around in seasons 1 and 2, but also fairly unique. So I'll shout out before I get into what I'm drinking, what's on tap. A little unusual. Pabst Blue Ribbon, not unusual. A lot of very, very
See that
common
a
in
lot.
bars.
Yep.
But just read an article a couple weeks ago. Best cheap beers. Guess what was number 1? This was like 23 of the top cheap beers. Guess what was based on like taste? Yeah,
Is this
mostly just
nationwide or just PNW?
this is nationwide.
Nationwide, okay.
Rainier.
Guess what was number 1?
Rainier.
No,
No, that's regional.
Pabst Blue
Pabst,
Ribbon.
I was going to say, yeah.
Pabst Blue Ribbon. Rainier was actually not even on the list, which I thought was kind of
Well, it wouldn't be on a
shitty,
nationwide list.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
we know Pabst Blue Ribbon is shit, right?
Well,
Well, a lot of hipsters are now going to be gunning for you, Lou.
It's shit.
PBR would always give me the rumble guts for the record.
Exactly. It's like Meister Brau. It's a rumble gut beer. The best of that list.
but
is still, like,
amongst
worst
the
of-
Rumble Gut beers, what's the
Rumble
best one? Pabst Blue Ribbon. There you go.
Well, it had kind of a hipster revival sometime
talking like,
about 10 years ago.
Milwaukee's
right?
Best,
Early
and,
2000s.
Natural
It was kind of a hip
Light,
beer.
and
Yeah.
Ice House, and all that kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
Pabst number 1. All right. Well,
What you drinking, Jeremy?
what I'm drinking is not a Rumble Gut beer. It's actually quite delicious, amazing beer. A beer that we've had that's fairly rare at a dive bar, but we have actually had in dive bars before. This is a Sea Pine Brewery. We talked about. Sea Pine's been on a few dive bars that we.
Yeah.
they're
This is
Always good.
Yeah, for sure. Super, super popular. Gained popularity probably in the last 4 to 5 years or so. Started off tiny. Couldn't find them anywhere. Now they're so popular you can actually find them at a dive bar.
Yeah, we've seen like 3 of our last 4 bars had sea pine.
Totally. Right. Yeah. Coming out of the woodwork. This is a sea pine Hefeweizen, which we talked about this 3 episodes ago. Seems like for a while there, Hefeweizens were everywhere. Widmer Hefeweizen was like a tap at every fucking bar and every fucking corner, right?
Yeah,
gone. We went through a dry spell, if you will, where Hefeweizens were very hard to find, either in the store or on tap. And now it seems like it's coming back. Yeah, a little bit of resurgence.
With the hazy.
Yep.
Do you think 20 years from now that's going to happen with IPAs, where people are going to be like, oh man, remember when IPAs used to be everywhere and now you can barely find them?
I bet. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. There's gonna ebb and flow. We're gonna wax and wane. IPA is gonna lose a little bit of luster, and then they're gonna kind of come back and maybe be like a retro style or something.
That's my prediction.
Yeah, IPA is never going away because IPA has the highest alcohol content, so it's here to stay.
The hard stuff.
Yeah.
You're probably not wrong.
If you want a high octane beer, you get an IPA, right?
Sometimes, yeah, especially the Imperials, right? But we're seeing some like high octane stouts and porters, which are kind of fun. Barrel aged, super popular right now.
Yep.
Not so much in dive bars, but
Hey, check out what I'm drinking. Did you notice the tap handle with the little lion on it?
Yeah, what was that? I was
Is
wondering
that
about that.
Aslan Brewery?
Aslan, yeah.
Aslan, but that's not this one though. She said this is a brand new one they got, and it's an Asian IPA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, kind of like and it tastes kind of like a Tsingtao Sapporo lager version of an IPA with a little sweetness. Yeah, it's got like 3 or 4 things going on. It's pretty cool. Check it out. Yeah, it's really good.
Now, we are at Poggie's Tavern, and Poggie's Tavern is in West Seattle. And what else is in West Seattle? Right up the street, it's the Beer Junction. So we're going to give a little shout-out to them. Morgan started the Beer Junction a few years ago. They have a lot of beers, and it's in the Junction. It's called the Beer Junction, and you can have like crazy taps on handles, and like it's not a dive bar, but it is a good spot and it's good people. So quick shout out to the Beer Junction.
Nice.
It is not a dive bar. It's a beer bar, right? A tap house.
Yeah.
And I think spin off from Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks. Huh? Tap house, right? Tap houses. Right? Going to the beers and them. All right.
Yeah.
We can talk about it.
It's going to be Jeremy just like going crazy.
Man, I'm so fucking drunk. I'm tap 36.
Live streaming.
Trying to get through.
A segment on what you're drinking. Well, this one. Oh, check this out. Oh my God.
Well, it would be all about the flights, right? Most of these tap houses offer flights, which is pretty badass. Something you don't see in a dive bar
That's
very
always
often.
the way to go, right? The flight.
Yeah, 5, 6, 7 tasters, and
Exactly.
keep going.
Yep.
Take off.
Yeah.
Do they have a flight here?
They do not.
They don't have a flight, but if you don't come correct, you might get into a. Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, they have a flight. You order a pint, then you order a second pint, then you order a third pint. And after the 5th or 6th one, they say, yeah, you just had a flight, bitch.
So, you guys want to get round 2? Come back, wrap this sucker up? Yeah. Talk about the tater tots? Yeah. Go for it, man. You will not be dissatisfied.
You want to take us out?
All right, pilgrims, take us out.
So we're back for round 2. So did everyone get the same drink? It looks like it. Did you guys get the same beer? Did we all get the... Yeah.
Also, since we're at the Poggie Tavern, we're going to have to give a shout out to Big Jim, the bartender who used to bartend here, who was like a famous local bartender, also on the show, Northern Exposure.
I think I remember. Yeah. I remember seeing his name when I was doing the research.
Used to wear overalls. What a guy! You know, he used to serve me himself. He used to also be the booker for the bands that would be here on Saturday night. He would do all the booking. Yeah, so great guy. So shout out to Big Jim.
And he was on Northern Exposure?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the bartender.
Oh, yeah. I used to watch that show. I remember that. Yeah.
That's good that you remember that, Lou.
Thank you.
All right. So, yeah. So, what are we all drinking here? We're drinking. What's it called again?
1, 2, 3.
Asian Cosmic Hazy IPA.
From Aslan Brewery.
Aslan
Yep,
Brewery.
over in Oregon. Yep. And it was so delicious, all three of us got it.
Well, it's interesting. They have a couple
Very
Oregon
unique.
breweries.
Very unique
Because my first beer was from Pelican Brewing, which is Cannon Beach, I believe, down in Oregon.
Yeah.
And I was having their stout. So, kind of interesting that they have a couple Oregon breweries. But hey, it's Pacific Northwest, so we're good with that.
Yep. And we got some great Washington stuff. We got some Manny's on tap and some, Pabst. Do we mention, the one unusual thing is they have a hard seltzer on drafts too, which you don't see.
noticed that.
Don't see that very often in dive bars.
No.
Great. Thanks a lot. We'll edit this shit out later.
That's a surprising choice, though, because at least the clientele tonight is somewhat older. But seltzers, I think I kind of associate that with more of a younger kind of drinking crowd, right?
And it is, unfortunately, it's San Juan Seltzer's brand, which is right up there with the infamous of the seltzers.
What's the infamous?
White Claw?
Oh,
There
White
you go.
Claw. Okay.
There you go. Really? Yeah. I think a slight half a tier down would probably be San Juan.
I thought San Juan was artisanal.
Yeah, kind of like White Claws and artisanal.
Which it is. Highly.
Sure, okay. There's also a couple of hard ciders on tap too, which a year ago would have been quite unusual, or a few years ago would have been quite unusual. But we've been to a few dive bars that have some hard hard ciders on draft.
To have one.
Yeah,
Usually one,
yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
You know what they don't have, though, Jeremy?
Ooh.
A goddamn pumpkin beer.
A shame, really, because what time of year is it? It's pumpkin season.
Oh, we're still accepting applications for an assistant to the beer gourmand. Just someone to keep them in check. And
Do they have a peppermint
not
stout
say,
on draft? Just last week was a Pacific Northwest Winter Beer Fest, a very popular, amazing beer festival here that we go to every year. Lots of Christmas beers.
where's that at?
That is over in Hangar 37 in...
Oh, Magnuson Park.
You got it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you go to that every year, don't you?
Yeah, hell yeah.
It always.
Shout out to Magnuson. Always fun. It's a big ass retired Air Force hangar, so it's a pretty cool venue. Cold as shit in there, but that's okay. It's wintertime.
You're drinking 9% and 10%.
Yeah,
And
feels pretty warm after a while.
nice.
So one thing I wanted to mention, Poggie's Tavern, but both Siri and Alexa pronounced it Poggie.
Poggie?
Yeah, most.
Yeah, Poggie. P-O-G-G-I-E.
Yeah, those who don't know tend to call it Poggie.
Poggie. Poggie Tavern.
Well, how is
Those
it?
who know.
How's it spelled?
P-O-G-G-I-E.
Like doggy.
You look at it, you'll be like, oh, Poggie. But
Poggy.
no.
Is it Poggy?
Pogie.
Poggy.
It's a hard O.
Like a hoagie, but a pogie.
Oh.
But Siri says Poggie.
Poggy.
What the hell does she know?
All right.
Yeah. Ask your local West Seattle drunk, and he'll tell you it's the Poggie.
This is a Poggie.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. You can't just come over with your own pronunciations of words. Sorry, Charday.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
Sade over here.
So
Sorry.
you think Poggie should change their
Poggie.
name?
You're
yeah?
Poggie.
It's Poggie.
Yeah, it's Poggy.
Okay, you heard it here first.
Yeah, like the game the kids play.
3 imbeciles mispronouncing a classic West Seattle dive bar. Well, we're all going to hell.
In a handbasket.
All right. So while we're talking about the Poggy, we should talk about West Seattle because that's the neighborhood we're in, right, Brad? You want to do a little where we're at?
Lou, why don't you tell the listeners where we're at?
We're in West Seattle, baby. And West Seattle is what? It's the biggest neighborhood in Seattle by size. It's actually a district comprised of 13 neighborhoods, same as Lake City. So if you live in West Seattle, you live in Seattle. You don't live in West Seattle, right?
What? Really?
Yeah. No, it's
West Seattleite.
Or the West, as some of the younger folks might call it.
yeah. Your postmaster knows you as Seattle 9810 blah blah blah, right? So, but it's not some bullshit neighborhood we're in tonight. This is the neighborhood that started it all, right? The Denny party landed here at Alki Beach on November 11th, 1851. 2 days later, the Collins party landed here at Alki Beach, 1851. And the Collins party was like, whoa, this is fucking hardcore over here. We're beating it to Georgetown and making beer. And so the Collins party went on to settle in Georgetown, but the Denny party actually stayed here for a year to try to make it work.
And they eventually said fuck it too.
Yeah.
Joined them not too far away.
Hey, look at that beach over there. That's way nicer.
Yeah. Where it's flat.
So yeah, when they first thought West Seattle was going to be the center of the universe, its first name was New York Alki. Yeah. And Alki is from trade jargon meaning by and by or in a while. So New York in a while. Huh? Dream big?
Like New York?
No, like in a couple years, this is going to be as big as New York.
Like Neo New York?
Yes, exactly like that.
Pseudo New York?
And so one of the stories that came out of when the Denny party landed was that several of the spouses immediately started crying when they got off the boat because it was
I remember seeing that, yeah.
Yeah, it was just rugged territory. And this place on the water, it's like way windier and way colder than Seattle. The land over here is not good for farming. And by all accounts, that first winter was particularly bad one. So, like, a lot of people got sick. A lot of people almost died. So, yeah, after a year, they legged it over to Elliott Bay.
All of the women folk in that party were like, yeah, this is not going to bode well for us.
Nope.
Yeah. The guy's like, oh, don't worry. We'll cut some trees down. We'll make a cabin. We'll build a sawmill. It'll be
no problem.
So, yeah.
Like, no. I ain't raising my kids here. Fuck this place.
No, I think there's a plaque where they landed to mark.
Yeah,
where they
there
landed.
is on
Yeah.
Alki Point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, after that, West Seattle was kind of the little neighborhood that couldn't. I think of the first Denny party, there were 3 people that stuck around, and there was a general store, and they opened a little sawmill, and they opened a barrel factory. Take your kid to work. Come on, kids, let's go to the barrel factory.
Woohoo! You got to put that beer somewhere.
That's right. And so those all went bust in a year, and it wasn't until like 30 years after the Denny party that it was developed in the 1880s as a residential community. There was a cable car that would take you from California Ave down to Salty's, where Salty's is, and a ferry would take you to Seattle. And they were a holdout in terms of annexing. So West Seattle was its own town for a while. And, they wanted local control. This is kind of funny, but they voted against it several times, but eventually they were so broke-ass that they couldn't do what they wanted to do, which was extend the cable car, like, up the junction or down California Ave. So they sold the cable car or the streetcar line in 1906 to the Seattle Electric Company, and they had the muscle to extend the cable car up California Ave. And one of the things that pushed them over to decide to vote for annexing was this amusement park they opened called Luna Park.
In West Seattle? An amusement park in West Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
Right on Alki Point.
This thing was
Right.
quite the place, man.
Yeah, like a boardwalk style?
Boardwalk style.
Coney Island.
Yeah, kind of a
Nice.
Coney
I
Island.
had no idea.
Yeah.
And so at the time, it was the style at the time. Luna Park attracted vice. So there was some gambling, and there was some alcohol, and there was some hookers.
When was this? What was the time frame of this Luna Park?
Early 1900s, like 1905 probably, something like that. And so, one of the reasons that the residents were encouraged to finally vote for annexation was it got so bad down there, they thought that the Seattle Police Department could provide a higher level of law enforcement.
Oh, yeah.
And how did that work for them?
Man, this is getting out of control. We just need to join up with Seattle.
Well,
SPD will clean this shit up.
Well, and you can still go down and get breakfast at the Luna Park Cafe, right
Owned
under.
by John Bennett, who has invited us to visit that place for one of our episodes. So.
There we go. So
very nice. Yeah, it was funny. It was like none of them had ever been to Pioneer Square. It was just like straight Philistine. And no, the cops are way too busy taking kickbacks in Pioneer Square to take your kickbacks. You're on your own. So, yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
But West Seattle, it still has an interesting vibe here because I know, like we were talking about, it is part of Seattle. You know, as far as everyone's concerned, it's a big part of Seattle, but it does seem removed somehow. It seems like almost another town.
If you ask a lot of people who grew up in West Seattle, they will kind of tell you, West Seattle, and even people from West Seattle kind of have its own little thing going on. We're the same. A lot of people actually refer, it's similar, like the Bay Area is kind of akin to in like California for whatever reason. Some people say it's like that. But even like I went to O'Day, and all my friends would go, oh man, you live all the way out there in West Seattle? Now, let alone from downtown on the old viaduct, you'd be here in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you had to go to Greenwood, it's going to take you a smooth 15. So it's actually really close, but for whatever reason,
people have it in their heads.
It's kind of, it is like its own little island. It is a peninsula, so we're almost there, but it's kind of its own little rock.
Yeah. And then recently, when the West Seattle Bridge was closed down, it was almost like this was like cut off from the rest of the world. Yeah.
Floating off into the ocean.
Yeah.
Goodbye, West Seattle. We'll see you in a decade.
Yeah, we should say that residents of West Seattle can now rejoice because after a 2-year repair job on the bridge, it's finally open.
Yeah.
So before, if you came down, you had to go all the way down to like the First Avenue Bridge or to
a
White Center and cut back depending on where you're going.
It's a nightmare commute.
So, yeah, welcome back to the rest of the world, West Seattle. As we mentioned in the Water Wheel episode, this part of town has been heavily ballardized. Is that a word?
Yes.
Bastardized.
Ballardized. I think that is kind of a word.
Not in a good way. No. Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of like full tilt, high density development with thousands of new units added in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So the big big little neighborhood that couldn't has finally hit the big time. So yeah.
And it's still
a different
cool
place than where you
neighborhood.
grew up,
this
Bob.
Street right here. Yeah, it's still a cool place.
It remains its unique vibe and character.
Yeah.
Small town.
Yeah.
I think it's about time for another amusement park. Wouldn't we all agree?
Luna Park too?
Yeah, totally.
You got any VCs?
Yeah, and you got to tell for a listener that has never been here, Bob, tell them about why is Alki Beach the place to be?
In the summertime, when I was a kid, you'd go watch breakdancers, and then guys would drive by blasting stereos, bonfires in the summertime. But it's funny because a lot of out-of-towners come in, such as folks from Kent, Federal Way, Renton, Shoreline.
But Sean, Alki Beach is one of the few places you can still consistently see rollerbladers with leg warmers on, which is, that in itself is pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool.
For sure. It's never gone out of style.
Yeah, it's by far the best beach in town, Alki.
Some might say Golden Gardens, but I'm probably partial.
Yeah, no, Alki is hip because you can cruise here. It's also it's illegal now, but this was like a cruising place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, drive your car back and forth all night, honk at girls, play the tunes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it was down for a while, but they reopened the water taxi, which is a pretty awesome way to get over here from Seattle. So even when they reopened the West Seattle Bridge, which made it way easier to get up to West Seattle, you can still take the water taxi in the summertime. Really fun. A few bucks, take the water taxi over, hang out on the Alki Beach, then go back to Seattle, go back to civilization.
Myself, I just swim across. Yeah, but that's just me.
Hardcore. Would you ever give a beverage or a bite to eat at Marination, one of their cocktails, or a little snacky snack at the Marination? I liked their cocktails. They had really good craft cocktails and like a spam musubi or something like that, just for a little snacker.
I've been there before.
Oh, yeah, Marination's good. I'll give them a shout out. And right next door to Salty's.
Salty's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's give a shout out to some of our neighbors here in West Seattle. As I understand it, Eddie Vedder still has a place here.
Oh, is he still living here?
Yeah, he's probably got a couple joints, but he still keeps his.
Brad, call him up to see if he can get on the microphone
I got him
here.
on speed dial right
hold,
here.
Hold on. We'll come right back.
Hello?
Eddie Vedder live in this episode.
Hey, ha, Brad.
Here's an odd one for you. Former member of Steppenwolf. Former member of Steppenwolf. Goldie Johns.
It's not ringing a bell.
He was the I forget what he did. He did like the piano or the bassist, and he was in Steppenwolf, and he got kicked out of the band. Well, he didn't get the rights on the music because he was going out touring and using the name Steppenwolf, and it was in their clause that if any individual member used the band name while they were on tour, they would take themselves out of the rights, and then so he lost all the money from all those songs. And he used to come in and he'd paint all of his fingernails gold because that was part of his shtick because his name was Goldie Johns. And my buddy Jerry used to know him, and he said he was a bit of a prick. So so that's from my buddy Jerry. That's all thanks to Jerry. He used to live on Delridge. Apparently.
Gold fingernails in the 1970s. That has cocaine written all over it.
Yes.
Extra long
Yeah.
Extra long PQ. Oh my God. Thanks, Grandpa Bob. That was an interesting story about Steppenwolf. Sure, a listener will get that reference.
Actually, did you guys ever hear the rap version of Magic Carpet Ride by Steppenwolf?
Yeah. It's
You know what I'm
the
talking
mashup one?
It's not a mashup. Like some rap group back in the early 90s, I want to say, actually did
Nice.
a cover of Magic Carpet Ride.
Well, it's a funky song on its own. Yeah, that's a good one to do.
Well, Brad, call him up. Get him on the episode here.
A couple other people we need you to call, Brad. Jeff Ament, bass player from Pearl Jam, also has a joint here. And everyone's favorite new country sweetheart, Brandi Carlile.
Who was just on SNL. Did you guys see the latest SNL? Yeah, she was on there.
That's right.
Yeah. I was telling my daughter the whole story about her, about how she was started out as a busker and at the Pike Place Market and made it big time. So
yeah, shout out. Stick around.
Matt Lucan from Mudhoney too. I was just listening to some kind of podcast, and he lives here as well. So
nice. Oh, we're looking at Goldie McJohn, founding member of. He looks like Greg Allman mixed with Santa Claus.
Describes a lot of 70s rock icons.
Yeah, pretty much. Cool.
So yeah, we have a special holiday surprise after the break. We're going to have a round table with Eddie Vedder, Jeff Ament, and Brandi Carlile. Stick around, Satan's Pilgrims.
Well, so we're getting close to wrapping up season 2. Our next episode is going to be at Shorty's.
About effing time, right?
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while.
For 2+ seasons.
Well, and Ave even recorded an episode with us, so
you know. Really going to happen this time.
We're going to be amongst friends, yeah. So we're looking forward to that. So stay tuned for that. Until then, I guess we're going to call this hitting it on the head. So adios.
Pilgrims, take us out.
Thanks, guys. Like, subscribe, and follow? Yeah.
Tell your friends.